Hello, everyone. Good morning or good evening. You guys can able to hear me?
Yes.
Yes, Lord, sir.
Thank you for the confirmations. All right, so what next? Shall we proceed with the next topic? So today we'll see how to work with your remote repositories. Like in any distributed version of the system, we have the local repository as well as the remote repository. Local repositories can be maintained within a local machine using Git client, and the remote repositories are maintained using your remote servers, right? So when it comes to your remote repositories, right? So there are various, entities here. Like we have something called GitHub and GitLab, and what else? Bitbucket, Azure Repos, AWS Code Commit, right? Like this, we have a lot of products available in market, and depends upon the application team's architecture, they'll be using any of these, platforms. So it is just a remote server where they install Git, and it will be having a GUI based interface. Okay. Okay. So it's very user friendly. Correct. And it's so intuitive to learn and work on it. So today we'll see how to work on these remote repositories. So in our case, we'll be using our GitHub. Tomorrow, if you get an opportunity to work on GitLab or Bitbucket or Azure Repos, it's all works on the same principle. Correct. So with this knowledge, you can able to work on any other remote repositories. The user interface might be different here and there, but apart from that, the functional no factors, everything is same. Right. So shall we talk about it today, or do you guys have any concern or questions related to today's topic before we move on?
Can you please explain the difference between Git rebase and merge?
Merge will just merge all the changes, all the commits from your current branch to your target branch. Correct? If you have 5 commits, all these 5 commits can reflect directly on your target branch. It will not be useful to synchronize your changes. Like if there's any incremental changes available, you cannot use a merge command to synchronize it. And also using merge command, you cannot ensure the linear commit history. What are all the commits you have, it just adds on top of it. correct? So technically, right, if you can see, both are going to, update the changes in the target branch. But the important thing here is when you use your uh, what do you call that, rebase, it can be used to synchronize your current branch to the target branch, and also it can be useful to update a linear commit history. Correct. So that is what the point here.
Yes, got
Easy.
it. Yeah.
One more thing, when we are using that rebase, for example, git rebase master in feature 2 branch, it is giving a message successfully updated like that. If there will be some conflict, it will show that file at there and it will not give the successful message, right? Like this, it will happen or something else.
Come again.
uh, when we are using the rebase git rebase in feature 2 branch, for example, for merging feature 2 to master branch, before that we are using git rebase feature 2, and it is giving that successfully updated and something like that. There was no conflict. If there is a conflict, may when it will occur a conflict like same file, so it will not give that message successful, and it will reflect the file like f1 dot txt or f2 dot txt there.
Yeah, that's right.
Okay.
That's right. So if the changes are at the same record level on the same file, definitely during rebase also you can experience that message. There a
And
message.
after that, we will move to like that in vi editor and we will edit there like you have told.
No need to go with V editor and all. Yeah, directly you can use a Git also to update
Okay.
it.
Acha.
Just go to that branch. In which branch you are facing that error
Mm-hmm.
or conflict, in that branch itself, follow the steps to fix a merge conflict. Like if you
Okay.
can see my last day session, we were discussing about the 5 steps to fix a merge conflict, right?
Yes, yes, yes.
So in which branch, let's say when you're rebasing, right, you're rebasing to feature 2. So in
Mm-hmm.
feature 2, identify the file, open and review it, and update the file content accordingly to fix the issue.
Okay.
Correct?
Yes.
So any other question related to branches, strategies, rebase, squash, stash?
Looks like git switch and git checkout are similar commands, right?
It's all over the period of evolution, right? Like initially when
Yeah.
Git was introduced, right, we were using Git branch command.
Mhm.
Later we have Git switch. So using Git switch, we can able to create as well as navigate other branches, right?
Yes.
So it depends. Okay, in today's generation, we'll be using Git switch to create or
Okay.
navigate to any branches. So you can use any of the things.
Okay.
Got it? So it's all just a kind of enhancement happens, right, over the period of time.
Right. Thanks.
Right. So any other question from anyone? Shall we proceed further?
Yes.
Yes.
Or what others? A lot of silent people are there. At least you can use the chat window to respond, right? So that I'll be giving more from my end. Okay. If you are silent, then I'm not responsible for that then. Fine. So, right. So already you are comfortable using your GitHub repository, at least for handling or accessing our training documents, right? So let me go get into my repository. So if you can see this document here, the training document, here you can able to see the list of folders and other stuff, right? So today we'll see how to create remote GitHub repository. Got it? We'll see how to create a remote GitHub repository. And also we'll see how to create commits and remote repo. And we'll see how to work with git clone, like all these things, clone, add, commit, all these things we'll be discussing today. So first we'll see how to create a repository. So just go to your account. So once you create an account, you can able to see your account ID, and on top right, you can see something called create new option. Can you see this on this page? There is an option to create a new item. So if you click on that create new option, you can find an option to create a new repository. Got it? So I repeat, on this page, if you click on create new, you can see something called create new repository. So if you click on the create new repository, it will take you to this page, create a new repository page. In this page, you can see your owner ID will be your account ID, whatever you generated or used to create. And let me give a repository name like test repo 1. So I'm going to create one test repository, and let the description also can be the same, no problem. And let me make it as a public repository. So once you have the repository name, you can give a description related to that repository for what purpose you're creating and all. And then if you want, you can able to initialize the repository with the README content. So in any remote repository, we use something called README file. The README file is going to maintain the description about the repository, a complete information about the repository. Like for what purpose we are creating it, what are all the components we have, what are the folders we have, and in each and every folder, what are the files we have, what is the significance of each and every file, how to access it. So it is a kind of a help document which we prepare as for this particular repository that will be saved as a README file. Got it? And also you can see something called add a git ignore. Can you see this .git ignore file? So in our CLI command, we have created a .git ignore file, right? Earlier,
Yes.
like this. Here, while creating a remote repository itself, you can able to create that option. You have that option to create. Like there are a lot of templates available. Like for example, if you want to work on a Java project, see there is a Java git ignore template. So for all the Java related programs, what are all the files that can be ignored? You can able to use it from the template. All right, like this, we can able to create a .git ignore file while creating a repository, or if it does not require, you can simply say none. Got it? And at enterprise level, if you're using this repository, you'll be creating a private repository, and you have to ensure that you provide some licensing also, because it is a licensed product then, right? So you need to provide your license ID credentials to ensure that it is meant for a licensed user. But in our case, we are using the community edition of your GitHub account. So this community edition doesn't require any license or a private access. Got it? So I repeat, go to your dashboard, click on this new item. It will take you to this repository creation page. And from this page, ensure that it is pointing to your owner ID and give a repository name. The repository name should be unique. And choose a project type as public. Click on this add readme file and then click on create repository. That's it. So once you click on create repository, see here, the test repo 1 has been created now. And in GitHub environment, whenever we create any repository, by default, it creates a main branch. in our local, we have created a repository with a master branch, right? Remember, but in a GitHub environment, the default name for that branch is main. If you want, you can able to rename it, that is secondary, but by default, it creates with main as per their standard. That's it. So currently we are in main branch, and in this main branch, we have just only one file called readme.md file, which we have just created while creating a repository. So the description, whatever we given for the repository, it is there in your readme file now. Now, in this case, if I want to make any new commits, for example, as part of your repository, I told you, we never work on any of your main branch directly, right? So we can able to create a new branch here. So from this main, there is an option, find or create a branch. If you type the branch name like feature one, see, when you type the branch name, it is giving an option to create branch feature one from main. If you click on this option, it just creates one new branch called feature branch. And this new branch is up to date with main branch now. Got it? So this new branch is up to date with the main branch. So like this, we can able to create any number of branches in our repository. So once you create a branch, as you all know, branch is just a logical copy of a branch, right? So what you can do, you can able to get into that branch and you can able to make some new commits. So as of now, your main branch and feature one branch are in sync. If you want to make any new commit here, there is an option called add file. Can you see this? Just select this option and click on create new file. And here on this page, you can give a file name like file1.txt, and you can able to add the file content, whatever you wish to add. Once the changes are ready, you can click on this commit button to commit the changes. It will ask for the commit message, and by default, the commit message generated. If you're okay with this, just click on create commit. That's it. So now new commit has been created in feature one branch. So now this branch is one commit ahead of your main branch. If you see the main branch here, it is having the very initial content. You see? So this is how we create branch in our GitHub environment. No need to use your git CLI commands and other stuff. It's all very basic thing to focus. At this point, you can simply utilize your what do you call that? GUI based environment itself. So like this, we can able to create a repository and make a number of commits. And also we can able to create branches in remote repository. And once the branches are ready with the content, if you want to merge the changes to target branch, we have to create pull request. Pull request is used to merge the changes from your current branch to your target branch. So as per the process, right, whenever we try to create any branch, the thorough testing will be done on that particular branch. And once you ready with the changes, if you want to merge it to your main branch, means you have to create a pull request. So this pull request created by the developers. Okay. And submitted to the reviewer or approver. Got it? So once the pull request is approved, then only the changes can be merged into target branch. Correct. So this is how we manage the changes in a remote environment. So it is a process actually. Pull request is just a request form that will be created by the developer. And while creating the request, he has to maintain the complete information about that particular changes. Say, for example, now in my main branch, there is no recent changes. And I am done with my feature one. I want to merge my feature one branch to my main branch. So what we can do here, we can create a pull request. I hope all are listening, right?
Yes, Lord, yes.
Yes.
Or feeling sleepy?
Sir, no,
No,
Lord,
no,
no.
no, sir.
Okay.
Very excited, sir.
So
Please continue.
now as a developer, once I'm done with my changes in feature one, I can open a pull request form, and this pull request form, as per the company's standard, okay, repository standard or strategy, they have to maintain it. So this is the title of the pull request. And in this description field, developer will give a complete description about this particular request. For what purpose the changes are happened, what all the changes happened, for which release they made these changes. And because of this change, what will be the impact in the production environment? What are all the changes they have tested? What are all the test cases they have tested? Whether all the test cases are successful or not? What is the test report? Got it. And how many teams or how many users are going to get impacted because of the changes? Have we done the detailed impact analysis? So all these descriptions has to be given in this particular description page. Got it. And then here you can see there is something called reviewers. If you can see this option here, as of now, there is no reviewers as part of this repository. But in real-time environment, when you get into this particular repository or your project repository, and if you click on the reviewer button, you can able to find the list of users who are having access to this repository. Their email ID will be available here. So you can simply select the user and make them as a reviewer. So based upon the criticality of your project, like in our strategy, we use something like more than one developers or more than one team can able to work on the same repository, right? So in such situations, we can have more than one reviews also. Maximum we can have 15 reviewers to review the changes. And then you can assign it to yourself. The developer who's working on this, who just logged into the repository, they can able to assign the name. And as per the company's project standards, they can have some labels or project IDs or sprint views. Everything will be available there. They can update it. It's all no need to choose. Automatically gets generated in an enterprise account. You see? So, and also if you can scroll down, you can see what are all the changes we made in the repository. Like in my feature one, I have created one new commit that is for one file change. So this file one.txt was created, and these are the new contents added to the file. So like this, it will be showing a complete information about that changes. And with all these details, we can simply click on create pull request. So once the pull request is created, right, see here, it is just scanning the entire repository changes, and it is automatically performing the merge conflict analysis also. Like if you try to merge changes from feature one to main, will there be any merge conflict occurs? Upfront, it will just verify it. That is how the intelligence of your remote repository, any repository you can see. Any remote environment will be having this feature by default. As soon as we create a pull request, it will check for the reviewer details, and also it will check for the conflict. So as of now, there is no conflict with the base branch. If I merge the changes from feature 1 to my main branch, it won't create any conflict. So I'm good with this. So this will be present to the reviewer. So reviewer, he can able to understand the complete changes, and at any time he can able to click on the commit tab to see the list of commits made on the repository and the file changes, everything he can able to access. And if a reviewer is okay with the process, he can simply go ahead and approve the changes. So as of now, there is no reviewer. So I just assigned, it is like a self review, right? In this case. So you can see. So what we can do, we can just get into this and proceed with the merge. So when you click on this merge pull request, it is asking for confirmation, confirm merge, click on merge. That's it. So now the changes are successfully merged and the pull request is closed automatically. Whenever the pull request, this is a pull request ID. Whenever the pull request is completed, merge is completed, automatically the pull request will be closed. The request will be closed. And also it will give you an option to delete that feature branch. Why? Because in a remote environment, it is not recommended to maintain the branches. Once the changes are merged to a target, that feature branch is no longer required, right? If you want, you can create a new feature branch from main branch, that is secondary. But at this point of time, do you still need this feature branch? No, not required. So it is giving a message like you're all set ready and the feature one branch can be safely deleted. If you want, just click on this delete branch. That feature branch will be deleted now. So this is how we merge changes from your current branch to your target branch with proper pull request. Now, if you go to the repository, you can see we have only one branch called main branch because we have deleted the feature branch upon merge. And this main branch is updated with the changes from feature. Easy.
Yes. Yeah, looks right.
So now assume that this is my project repository that is available and I'm a new developer wants to work on this repository. Got it? This is an already existing project. Like in our previous session, we were talking about some enhancement project, right? Enhancement project means we should have a GitHub repository and from there we have to perform the git clone. Correct? So now we'll see how to clone that remote repository. So in order to clone the remote repository, go to the repository which you want to access. And here you can see something called code button, the red color, sorry, what do you call it? Green color drop down. Okay. So if you click on this button, you can see there is a HTTPS URL. This is the clone URL of this repository. Even this is what I usually ping you, right? For your access.
Yes.
So through this URL only, we can able to interact with our repository. Got it? So all that I can do here is I can go to my local machine. And in this local machine, let me create a folder first, mkdir remote repos. So in this folder, I want to clone this repo. So we can simply use git clone followed by that URL. I have created one empty folder. It is not a git repository. Okay, it is just an empty folder. Within the repository, I just want to clone my remote repository. See, it is cloning the test repo one, and it has downloaded everything, 100% completed. Now, if I say ls, I can see the test repo one is available. If I go to that folder, it is your repository with main branch, default branch called main. Got it? So whenever you try to work on any remote repository, you should use git clone. Don't use git init and clone it. Git init is something used to initialize a new repository. If you want to bring any repository from your remote environment to your local machine, you have to use git clone, which will download the entire repository And now you can able to get the status. Like I can see there are 2 files in that repository. This is the content. And apart from that, if I say git log one line, if you can notice here, and, so if you can see here, this repository is having 3 commits. Hope it's visible, right? This repository is having 3 commits. This is the initial commit when we created a repo with a README file. And then this is something when we try to merge changes from your feature 1 to feature 2. And this one based upon the pull request. So now the point is, if you see the head pointer, it is pointing to a main as well as origin main or origin head. So main always refers to your local branch name. And the origin slash main or origin slash head, that points to the remote repository branch name. So what does this origin means? Origin is an alternate name to your remote repository. Got it? So there is a command called git remote -b command. This is to get the list of remote repositories linked to the local repository. Correct. It is a list of remote repositories that is linked to the remote repository. So if you can see this git remote -v, you can see this is the remote repository URL which we used. Correct. And origin is just an alias name or alternate name to the repository. Internally, Git client will use this alias name to refer this remote repository URL. Let's say tomorrow, if you want to fetch the changes or push the changes, no need to give a complete URL. You can simply use this alias name. And if you see the Git status here, we are on main branch. Your branch is up to date with origin main. That means your branch means this local branch is up to date with the remote branch. Easy.
Sir, I have a question.
Okay.
Sir, if I'm not like mention the origin, if I'm directly like something get pull or get push anything, then what will the effect?
It by default it takes the origin, whatever assigned to the
Yes.
repository.
Okay, sir. Okay, thank you.
Correct. So yeah, I'll show you that how to use git push and pull and all.
Okay, sir.
Fine. So now we have just cloned this entire remote repository to our local machine using git clone command. This is a syntax for it, git clone followed by the remote repository URL. And once the remote repository is available, you should be able to see the list remote repository URL attached to that. And also you can able to check the status of your local repository and the log commit history.
I am not getting this git remote /v. Why to you? What is the use of this?
I hope you're observing, right? It is a
Yeah.
command. It is used to get the list of remote repositories linked to your local repository. So when I say git clone, based upon the remote repository, it has created one local repository, right?
Yes.
This test repo 1 folder, it is present in my local machine.
Yes.
It means in my local machine, it has created one repository which is linked to your remote repository, correct?
Correct.
So just to get the list of that linked repo, we use this.
Okay, done.
So, Sai, what is this origin head then? Origin head.
It can be master or head, main or head, anything is fine.
Okay. One and the same, right? Origin slash main, origin slash head, that is referring to remote repository.
Yes.
Main.
Yes,
Okay.
yes. Got it? So this is the way we clone the repository. Now, my repository is ready in my local machine, and I am ready to make some incremental changes in the repository. Okay. So what is the procedure to make any incremental changes in the repository? Let's say I want to create a new file. What is the procedure? What is the best practice? What we can do now based upon the learnings, whatever you did so far? Huh? Sorry?
We need to create new branch.
Perfect. So if I want to make any new changes, as per the process, we are not supposed to directly update the master branch, right? Or a main branch, right? I told you. If you say git branch command, we have only one main branch, and this main branch is actually linked to your remote repository, right? So we are not supposed to directly update the main branch without proper approval. Even if you see this remote environment also, how I merge change to the main branch with proper approval, correct? Using pull request only, this main branch should get updated. So directly you are not supposed to make any commit in the main branch. So what you can do, you can use a feature branch -c local feature. Let me create one new branch called local feature branch. Someone said about rebase and all. I'll come to that point in some time. Okay, keep that in mind. So we have created one branch and the control is switched to that local feature one. Now if I say git log, you can see this local feature branch is in sync with your remote branch as well as your local main branch. And if I say git status, it is clean because we haven't created any commit in our local feature branch, and this file also it's remained same. Now let's create a new file or new commit. Go code one. Let it be like local file one.txt, just for an example. And let me add this to where I'm going to add this now.
The local feature.
Staging area of the local feature one branch. It will not have any impact on your main branch or in your remote repository. Okay, we are just dealing with the local feature branch only. It is completely isolated one. And we are going to create a commit -m created local, what is it called? File one.
Local file.
.text, something like this. That's it. So now I just made a new commit, and if I get the log here, my feature one branch will be one step ahead of your local main branch as well as your remote branch. Easy. Hope you can able to understand this procedure, right?
Yes.
As per the process, we're not supposed to directly update the main branch. So I created a feature branch and I'm just making some changes. Like this, we can able to make any number of commits here. Got it? Once changes are ready, if you want to merge it to your main branch, what you can do? I'm done with my feature one changes and I just want to merge this local feature one to main branch. So if
Before
this
merging,
repository is linked with your remote environment, then you can directly use git push command. You have to push this branch to your remote repository, and from there you can pull into your local main branch. That is how we should update, because main branch should be updated only with proper approval. Correct. So to get that approval, I have to push it to my remote repository, and in remote environment, I don't have any other branch. So now I'll show you how to push these changes to the remote environment. For that, we use a command git push -u origin followed by the branch name, local feature 1 branch. So this is a command. Git push -u origin. Origin is the alias name, alternate name to my remote repository. And in that remote repository, I want to push this branch. If you're not using the branch name, like if you simply say git push -u origin means it will try to push the changes into the default branch, which is not recommended. Correct? And if you simply say git push also, it will try to push the changes into the default remote repositories default branch. That is also not recommended. So as a best practice, we always use an option git push -u option followed by the origin remote repository URL and the branch name. So now this command what will do means it will push the changes from local feature 1 to remote feature 1. Got it? And another important point is if local feature 1 branch is not present in remote repository, it will create one. Simple. Right? And another important factor here is -u. -u denotes the credentials required to push the changes to remote repository. So whenever you try to clone the repository, it will never expect any credential because it is a public repository. But if you want to push any changes from your local machine to your remote repository, it will expect the credential. So the credential means it will be like a user name and then the GitHub access token. Usually, if you want to log into your GitHub account, what we do? You enter your login ID and password, right? Yes, no?
Yes,
Yes.
correct.
Yes.
So keep one thing in mind. This password-based authentication, it is applicable to directly log into your web pages. Like for example, if you want to access your Gmail account or GitHub account or any Facebook or whatever online web page you want to access, you can able to use a password-based authentication. And on top of it, if you want, you can have some multi-factor authentication also. But whenever you try to access the same web application, like this GitHub is one of the web application. If you want to access such web applications through a CLI command or through any APIs, we cannot rely on the password. Instead of password, we use a token-based authentication. Do you remember in our Linux module, we talked about various authentication methods?
Yeah.
Password-based authentication, key-based authentication, token-based, correct?
Yes. Yes.
So whenever you try to access your web applications or web application service through your CLI commands or through APIs, we never rely on the password. For more secure features, we rely on the token-based authentication. So now the point here is, before you execute your push command, you have to create an access token in GitHub account. Correct. And once the access token is ready, you can use that access token to push the changes. I'll show you how to create access token now. So just go to your repository, and on this repository, right, you can see there is your user icon, something. Just click on this. It will take you to the various options of your account, and here there's something called settings. This Loksai ETA is a account ID. It's a login ID you can consider. So if you click on this icon here, you can find one option called settings option. So just click on the settings option. So if you click on the settings option, it will take you to this page. Correct. You can scroll down. It is used to configure or set up your complete repository. Correct. So like for example, in this case, our intention is to create an access token. So to create access token, go to settings page, and if you can scroll down, you can see something called developer settings. Click on this developer settings, and here you can see something called personal access token. Can you see this? Use this drop down and choose a token classic option. There is a fine grain tokens also. It is just completed the beta testing, and preview is there. So we can use the token classic method, which is a standard one. Click on this token classic, and it will take you to next page where you can generate the new token. So if you click on the generate new token, as I said, you can use new token classic option, because the latest version which they want to introduce, the fine grain token, it is still in beta testing process. So you can use generate new token classic option. I have already enabled the multi-factor authentication. Let me enter my code. I think you also did, right? How many of you enabled multi-factor authentication here?
I did it.
Yes, sir. Hari.
Yes. So when you try to create a new token, it will expect your multi-factor authentication. Once it is authorized, then you can access this page to set up the access token. So just give the name like this. And for this particular token, what is the retention period? How many days you can have this token? It is showing like 7 days, 30 days, or 60 days, or 90 days, right? So if you're working for any organization, they'll be setting up around 90 days retention period. Once in 90 days, that is once in 3 months, you have to renew your token. Or if you set up to no expiry, means the token will not expire. Got it? So for service account kind of thing, we can set up this one, but for user level, it is not recommended. So since it's my dummy account, let me choose it as 7 days. All right. So just give the name of a token and choose the expiry retention period. And with this token, what we are going to do, what is the scope of work? Means we are going to deal with the repository. We are going to work on all the repository level actions. So apart from this, GitHub is having a lot of features and benefits. Got it? We are not going to deal with all those things. Our intention is to work on our source code repository. So enter the token name, retention period, and then ensure that you choose this option. Then only this token will be valid. Enable this checkbox under the repo level, and then click on generate token. Easy. So now you can see a new token has been generated. This is a token. Let's copy this token and preserve it somewhere. Because once you close the screen, you cannot get this token again. You have to regenerate it. So better, once this token is generated, click on copy and save it somewhere if you want to reuse it. Any question on this process?
No. No, sir.
No.
Any question here? So please remember all these points, because this is something very much essential tomorrow while creating our actual real-time repositories. And it is not applicable only for Git. Okay, tomorrow you'll be working with your Docker. We'll be working with Kubernetes. So everywhere we'll be maintaining our token-based authentication. Easy. Now, the username, I can use this, whatever I have here. Like, this is the username, right? I told you. Loxi ETA. Something like this. So these are the credentials. So why we use -u means whenever I try to push the changes to my remote repository, it expects the credential, that is the username and the access token. And as the developer, I'll be pushing n number of changes to my remote environment, right? Every hour, I'll be pushing a lot of changes to my remote repository. So each and every time I don't want to pass the credential. So what I can do means I can use this -u option to save this credential in a credential manager. So if you can see in your Windows machine or any machine, you can see, go to credential manager. There is a credential manager. If you go to this Windows credential manager, you can see I have like all the remote environment, like Azure repositories I was working on, AWS code commit and GitHub, right? So this is how the credentials will be stored. So when you execute a git push command, that git CLI will first get into this Windows credential manager and check for the credential. If the credential is already existing, means it will use this credential to push the changes into the remote environment. If the credential is not present here, it will ask you at runtime. Got it? So if you want, I'll do one thing. Let me okay, let me remove this itself. Let me remove this GitHub access token from my local machine. That's it. I have removed it now. It is not present in my local machine. So what I'm going to do means I'm going to run this command with my CLI. Yes. So git push -u origin followed by the branch name. If I run this command, just observe what is going to happen. It is trying to search for the credential in the credential manager. If it is not present, see, it is here. You can see this dialog. It is trying to connect to a GitHub account, and to connect this, it requires a credential. So here you have two options. Either you can sign in with your browser or you can sign in with your code. Code means that access token, whatever you generated now. You can enter this token and you can able to log in. Or if you click on the sign in with your browser, if you already logged into your browser, means through that browser cache, it captures the credential and allow you to log in. Like this, we have this feature is something introduced in the recently. Initially, it was not that. Initially, we have to enter the token, but now from the browser cache also, it can pick up the credential. Got it? But at enterprise level, we never use this cache memory. We use a token only. So just click on the token and paste that token whatever generated here. Once this is done, just observe what is going to happen. Let me click on the sign in with the browser. See, it is trying to log in with the browser and the changes are getting pushed into my remote. So in my remote environment repository, it has created a new branch called local feature 1. Easy. Now, if you go to your remote repository, see, it is giving a message, local feature 1 has recent pushes. If you refresh this page, you can able to see the branch name, local feature 1 branch is available now with the new file that we have created in the local machine. Easy.
Yeah.
Any question?
Yes.
So you notice the process, right? So once the changes are available in a remote environment, now you can merge this into your master branch or main branch. So how you'll do that? How to merge it to main branch? By creating a pull request.
Compare and push.
So click on this option and you can able to make n number of changes on this description. You can give a valid description, choose a reviewer, assign it to yourself for any changes, and click on pull request. So now this pull request is created to merge changes from local feature one branch that is created in your remote repository to main. Creating it, and while creating itself, it is checking for the conflicts, everything, and it is having no conflict, so we can merge a pull request and confirm the merge. Easy? Easy. Now,
Yeah, looks.
if you
Yes,
go
yes,
to the
yeah.
repository, you can able to see the main branch is updated with our remote. Easy? I haven't deleted the feature branch local feature. Let it be there. If you want, you can delete later on. I'll show you how to delete it. But in this main branch, you can see the changes are up to date. So any question?
We don't need to use rebase any here, no? Before merging.
If you want, you can use that also, no problem. If you have made multiple commits, if you have multiple branches, yes, you can use rebase while merging it, no problem.
So that one we have to do in that local feature one.
No, here itself we have the option while merging.
Okay.
Right. So now, this
But
is
sir,
the remote repository. Yeah.
so what is the advantage of using a token rather than using a username and password?
The token is something used to authenticate the push event, right? Like,
So it is mandatory to use token on the enterprise levels?
yes, it is mandatory. It is mandatory.
Do you
And
have any advantage of using tokens rather than other credentials method?
see, tokens are considered as one of the secured way to access the remote applications, right?
Okay.
If you are talking about the password is meant for an individual user.
Okay.
Right?
Okay.
But the token, it can be applicable at the application or server level. Like this token, whatever I've generated, right, is applicable for this repository. Correct?
Sure.
Not for this particular user alone. Tomorrow, if any of my team member wants to access this repository, let's say I have another team member, he wants to push something into this repository. For that, he needs a credential. Can I give my password to him?
Okay, it's not possible.
No, right? So alternatively to password, I can give my access token.
Okay,
Got
understood.
it? So token,
Okay.
using token, he cannot log into my account. He can
Okay.
use it only for pushing the changes.
Sure. Yeah.
Got it?
Got
So that is how you can use a token. So now we have updated our remote repository. And if you can see this local repository here, if I navigate to git switch main, I'm on this repository. And if I say git log one line, you can see it is having the very initial commit. And if I say ls also, it is having the very initial file. The local file one is not updated in your local main branch because the git status says your branches update with the origin. Is it so? We made some incremental changes in our remote repository. This new changes available in remote repository, but it is not reflecting in your local main branch. So how to bring my incremental changes from a remote repository local main branch or local repository?
Git fetch.
For that only we use something called
pull.
git fetch or git pull. So both git fetch and git pull are used to handle the incremental changes from the remote repository. If your intention is just to check for the incremental changes, you can use git fetch. Or if you actually want to work on that incremental changes, you can use git pull, because git fetch will update the details only in the local repository. but git pull will update changes in the working directory as well as in the local repository. For example, I can simply say git fetch. Just git fetch is sufficient. If I run this command, it will get into the remote repository, and if there is any incremental changes exist. See, it has identified an incremental change on the remote repository main branch. And now if I say git log, you won't find anything here because that changes are not yet committed to our local. But if I say git status, you can see now it is having the view or visibility. Your branch is behind 2 commits and it can be merged. So it is giving a recommendation to use git pull to update your local branch. Now, if you want to bring the, because if you see the ls also, the git fetch command has not fetched the file into my working directory, correct? It is just updating the details alone in my local repository, so that because of that I can see the status here. Understood? So if your intention is just to check for the incremental changes from the remote repository, use git fetch. It will just update the details about the changes, not the actual changes. Okay, just the information about the detailed changes will be updated in the local repo, but not in the working directory. That's what happened here, correct? Now, if I want to update the changes permanently into my local machine, I can use git pull. So after giving the git fetch command, if you say git pull, it can quickly bring the changes. See, now the changes are up to date. If I say git status now, it is up to date. Why? Because your git log should able to reflect the new changes, local file 1 changes, and you can see the file here available now. Easy. Am I clear?
Yes.
Yeah.
All right. So now let's try one more scenario. I am on this remote repository. And in this repository, I have a local feature branch 1. Again, I just want to make some incremental changes here. Let me create a new file, for example. Dummy file1.txt. Some content and committing the changes. Hope you all clear with this process now, right? So I just made some new changes in my remote repositories feature branch, and I am going to create a pull request to merge these changes. Correct. So if you want to create a pull request from the same page, you can see something called pull request option. Click on this option and you can click on new pull request. This is an alternate way to create. Correct. And like this, at any point of time, you can able to create your pull request. See here, this is a new change which I've implemented in my local feature 1 for this dummy file 1. Based upon this information, I can simply click on create pull request. And in this form, I can give the details of that request, assign it to me and the reviewer, and then click on pull request. Now it is validating my changes and it identifies there is no conflict. Someone asked about the rebase, right? How to use rebase while merging.
Yes.
So here, if you use a drop down, you can see that option, rebase and merge, squash and merge. So as per your process, like usually in a real-time environment, we use squash and merge, and rebase can be done done through pull request itself while creating a pull or executing pull command. Or if you want to explicitly rebase and merge, you can use this also, no problem. Got it?
Yes.
So you can click on merge pull request and confirm merge. That's it. Now you can see the request has been processed. And if I go to the repository, I should be able to see the main branches updated with our dummy file 1. Easy. So it means while I'm working on my local repository, there are some incremental changes happen in the remote repository. That's what you don't understand. Correct? We are working on this local repository now. I just updated my local main branch using pull command and it is up to date. But while I'm working on this, there is some changes happen in the remote repository's main branch. So now I want to work on this file from my local machine. So what I can do, I can give git pull. Correct. If my intention is to just check the changes, I can use git fetch command. Git fetch will just capture the details about changes and update the local repository alone. Only the git pull command will update the changes in the working directory. But instead of git fetch command, if I directly give git pull command means, see, it is performing the fetch action as well as updating the changes. So now if I say ls, I have the changes available. Easy. So the very important point to consider here is in our SD session, we use rebase option, right? I said as a best practice, we should always use rebase before merge. Correct? That is within a repository between the branches. But whenever you want to keep your local repository in sync with your remote repository, we use git pull. Correct. So use git pull to keep the local repository in sync with remote repository branch. Correct. So this is what the main purpose. So you can compare your rebase and pull. Both git rebase and git pull are used to keep your branches in sync. Correct? That's what we discussed yesterday. Remember, what is the purpose of sync rebase I used yesterday?
Okay, understand.
But the difference between git pull and git rebase is used within your repository between the branches, right? And git pull is something used between the remote repository and the local repository branches. Easy. That's it. This is how we engage the changes from the local machine to remote as well as from the remote repository to the local machine. This is one scenario. If you're working on a what do you call that, enhancement or bug fixing project. But consider I'm going to work on a project which is completely new. I'm going to create everything from the scratch. Okay. I'm going to create everything from the scratch. It means for any new project from local machine. How to handle the remote repository means, listen carefully. We have to create a local repository with some commits. That is for sure, right? And you have to properly test your changes. Once the changes are ready, then you have to create an empty remote repository. Just create one empty remote repository. That's it. Once you have the repository ready, you can able to use your git push command. And before that, you have to add that git remote add followed by the like origin and remote repo URL. So this git remote add command is used to add your remote repository to your local repository. So let's try this now. Let me come out of this folder and let's create a new folder here. Let it be test report 2. And cd to the test report 2. Sorry. And here I want to initialize this. I want to create a new repository altogether. This is all same as like what you did in your previous sessions. So we have just created a new repository, and in your local machine, if you create a repository, by default it creates a branch name called master branch, not the main branch. And let's make some commits here. Add it to the staging area and commit this. Correct. So now you have assumed that you have created a new project folder or repository in your local machine. Now you want to share it with your remote users, but you don't have any remote repository there. So what you can do means go to your account and you are going to create a new repository now. As like how you created test repo 1, we're going to create another repository. So let me click on this new repo, create new repo, and I can see this page. So in this page, let's give a repository name. It be anything like this, test repo 2, something like this. And don't give any other parameters, okay? Because I want to create altogether an empty repository without any commit. I want to show you how an empty repository looks like in a remote environment. If you give a description and a README file, automatically one new commit will happen for this README file. But I am not at all interested to do that. I just want to have an empty repository. This is also one of the scenarios. Just click on create new repository, enter the new repository name, make it as a public repository, and leave all the parameters default. Don't enable the checkbox and other stuff and all. Just create a repository now. See, this is how an empty repository looks like without any commit. So it means it is giving a recommendation to quickly set up your repository. There are a lot of scenarios we have, like it is giving you a recommendation to create a new repository on a command line. Like whatever things we did so far, that's what is giving here. If you don't have any local repository, first you can create the repository and make some commit in the repository. And then we are going to use git add origin command to add that repository. And then use git push command to push the changes. If you already have a local repository, in our case, we already have a local repository. So in that case, you can directly use your git remote add origin. Because if I say git remote -v, at this point, this repository is not attached to any remote repository. Correct? It is not attached to any remote repository. So there is a command called git remote add command. That is to attach your local repository to your remote repository. That is what the recommendation given here. You see? So git remote add origin followed by that URL. Origin is an alternate name, alias name to your repository. This is the repository URL. Now, if I execute this command, that remote repository has been attached to my local repository. And if I say git remote -v, I should be able to see that now. So what is the next step they are giving here? They're expecting us to change the branch name, there is a command called git branch -m, capital M, followed by the branch name. So this is a command used to rename the branch. Here it is given as master, and they are expecting us to change it to main, because as per the GitHub standard, they want to maintain all their default branch as main branch, not the master branch. So they're just giving it the recommendation to rename it before you push the changes. This is as per their standard. But if you think that as per your standard, you want to maintain master, I mean, just let it be master itself, no problem. I just change it again. And now you can use a push command, git push -u. What is supposed to -u here? The credentials, whatever required, I want to take it from my credential manager, which I used for my previous process. And then I want to refer my remote repository URL with this alias name, and the branch name is master. Easy. Git push -u origin master. Now you can see the changes are happening in the remote environment. A new branch has been created. If you go to the remote repository and if you refresh this page, it has created a new commit here based upon your local changes. Easy. Am I clear with this?
Yes, sir.
And there is another command here, that is git remote remove origin. So this command is to remove the remote repository, or I can say like detach the remote repository link from local repository, like this. Why? Because I'm not interested to keep that attached all the time. Okay, if I want, I can simply say my changes are up to date, right? I just push my changes to remote environment, so I don't want this link to be maintained. So if I want, I can simply say git remote remove, followed by the alias name origin. Now if I say git remote -v, it is not available. So at any point of time, I should able to connect by using git remote add command. Like this, I can able to attach any remote repository to my local machine and publish the changes there. It's possible. Easy?
Yeah.
Hope I'm clear with this, all of you.
Clear.
Yes.
Fine. So just follow this process clearly, because this is what actually we do in real-time environment also. There is no deviation. Whatever I said so far, we are just going to do the same thing in real-time projects also. Maybe in real-time environment, you'll be having or dealing with multiple scenarios, multiple remote environments. Okay, like for example, in my current project itself, I'm dealing with 2 repositories. One repository is running in my Azure cloud platform. Another repository is in my GitHub. So when I try to push the changes, I can able to push it to my remote environment as well as to my remote Azure as well as to my GitHub environment. So using git remote add option, let's say if I use git remote add, I can add one remote repository to this local. Assume that I have one more. I want to add one more repository like Azure origin. Let it be like this. See, I have linked 2 repositories. One is in my GitHub and another thing is in my Azure. Like that, we can able to add any number of remote repositories to your local repository. And if you want to fetch or pull, you can use that origin name. So if I simply say git fetch means it will try to fetch from the default repository which is linked. But now I have two repositories attached, so I can use that alias name properly here. If I say az or origin, it will try to fetch it from this repository. If I say just origin, it will try to fetch it from here. Similarly, while using push command also. If I simply use push command, it will not work. Someone asked, right, initially, like, can we just use push means? If your local repository is attached with multiple repositories, it is recommended to use the push command along with the alias name. That is what recommended. You see, like this, a lot of things you'll be learning and implementing at your client place based upon a real-time project. But whatever it is, this is the ground truth. Understood? Easy, right?
Yep.
Yes, sir.
All right. So that's all. That's all about your remote repository handling. And if you want, I can give you some additional information. So this is a repository, right? We have created. And if you click on that user ID at your account level, you can see the repositories tab. So here you can see the list of repositories you created under your account something. We have training document as well as 2 more repositories. So this is a repository name. And for every repository, there will be something called settings option. Settings. If you click on that repository level settings, you can able to know navigate to the properties of the repository. Like this is the repository name. If you want to rename the repository, you can do it here itself. It will immediately change the URL. You have to update in local machine again. Similarly, if you want, you can able to click on the branches and you can able to add some branch policies as per your company's security standards. And then we have something called webhooks. In our upcoming session, that is in a Jenkins module, I'll show you how to use webhooks to automate our application builds and deployments. Got it? And also there is something called email notifications. We can able to set up the email notifications. A lot of things are there. And in addition to all these things, right? Like I wanted to say something related to your settings here. I mean, you can see this option, right? Can you see this? If you click on the settings button in the general tab, there's a repository name and there is something called default branch. So I said master branch is a default one, right? If you want, you can able to change it to anything. You can even rename the branch here itself. Similarly, you can explore a lot of other features like pull request. So allow pull request. That means only if you use pull request, it will allow you to merge changes. Like that, you can able to maintain some condition. So all the branch level protections, the policy enablement can be done here. And if you scroll down at the end, you can see something called danger zone, which helps you to change the visibility of a project. Like if you want to make it as a private repository, or if you want to delete the repository, you can able to do it from here. Got it? So just explore it. That's it. Any other question here in accessing your repositories?
That token generation, it's a one-time process, or we need to do it like when we log in?
It's a one-time process, but if you set up any retention period, like if you set up the token expiry date for as a once in 3 months or once in 2 months means you have to change that, right? You have to edit and update that token once in 3 months.
Okay.
Correct?
Yeah, and looks like we can share that same token with multiple users to update the changes.
Yeah, it is for that's what not the repository level created token, right? So that can be shared with others also, no problem.
Perfect.
It can be based upon service account. In that case, I never consider that token as my individual user token. It will be considered as a service token, service level, service account ID kind of thing. And also we never hard code it. Okay, we never, we never hard code it at every level. So we just save the token in one credential manager. Like here I showed you a Windows credential manager, right? Like that tomorrow, if I start with my Jenkins model, I'll show you how to save the token in a Jenkins credential manager. So from that credential manager, anyone can able to access it. Easy. So guys, hope things are clear to everyone, right? Or any confusions here?
Nope, that's all.
Want to have a quick break? Because the last topic in the list is
Hello, sir.
access
I have a
your
doubt, sir.
yeah.
Why should we want to go with the token based? Why can't we go with SSH key based?
It depends, no? Like it depends upon your system, right? System security policy, right? Like I'm using my
It is
Windows
possible,
machine.
right?
It is possible. If you want, you can create some also not. It's possible. We can do that also. So it supports all types of credentials. Okay, as per the company security policy, which is recommended, you can stick to that one. Right. So is that answer the question?
Yeah.
Okay. So next we'll see how to access your GitHub repositories using Visual Studio Code. If you want, you can have a quick break and come back. We'll talk about it. It just a plugin or option we have to access. I just show you how to use it. And tomorrow, once we start with Jenkins or Docker or Ansible or Kubernetes, we'll be enhancing it more and more. Correct? Fine. Proceed.
One question, while logging GitHub, I have not generated MFA code because it was not mandatory. So now how can I create it? Because for this purpose, it is required.
Whether it is asking for MFA?
No, it was asking before, but it was not mandatory. So I skipped and I have done everything. It is working fine. Now, how I will generate one?
Yeah, you can go to settings and do the same.
Okay.
You can go to settings and create a code or MFA authentication.
Okay, let me try.
See, you should go to the account level settings, okay, not to the project level settings.
Okay.
Hope you are seeing my screen, right?
Yes, yes.
So in this page, if you can see here, go to this settings level, not to the project level settings, go to the account level settings.
Okay.
If you go to the account level settings on the general tab, public profile, and you can see something called, what is it called? Yeah, password and authentication, access. Can you see this? Here, password and authentication.
Yes, yes, yes.
So if you click on this password and authentication, it will take you to a page and just scroll down there. You can find something called two-factor authentication and all. Correct?
Yes.
So you can follow the steps as mentioned there.
Okay.
Okay, so shall we?
Yes, yes.
Yes.
All right, so now we'll see how to use our development environment, because if you can see our DevOps introduction module, as part of our DevOps stages, the continuous development stage, using DevOps approach, what we recommend, we allow the developers to create their source code using their IDEs like Visual Studio Code or Visual Studio or Eclipse based IDEs or PyCharm. And once the changes are ready, from there itself, they should able to save or update the source code into the remote repository. So this is what the objective now. So how to achieve this? Like if developers are using Visual Studio Code, or if they're using Eclipse IDE, means that is their development environment. Let me go to my Visual Studio Code now. And let's get into a new project if you want. So let me create a new folder. I hope you are comfortable using Visual Studio Code now, right? How to create a folder and other stuff.
Yes.
Yes.
Okay. So if you can see here in our previous Python module, we have prepared some Python projects and all. So I can use the same folder. Okay. And I just want to use this folder to maintain my application source code. Got it? So I can able to create a file like sample one.java kind of thing, and I can able to maintain some source code or whatever, right? I can able to make some changes. I can able to save the file. What happened? It's not working out. So just for an example, okay, developer making some code changes and they're just saving the file here. Tomorrow, once I start with my Jenkins module, I will show you the actual Java project with the Java program and other stuff. But today it is just like a template. Okay. Now I'm ready with my source code. It is a Java program I prepared. And at any point of time, I can able to quickly test this thing, debug and run all those things in my local machine. That is fine. How I can able to publish this to my remote repository? That will be the question, right? So whenever a developer is working on changes, right, they need an interface to connect. So I can use the terminal menu. Go to the terminal menu and click on new terminal. And here, by default, it is taking to PS, that is PowerShell. But if you can use this drop down here, you can see something called git bash. See, it is taking me to the bash terminal now. Can you see this? Instead of using your separate bash terminal from this, you can able to directly use your Visual Studio Code to access the terminal. Same, whatever you're doing here, you can do it in the Visual Studio Code itself directly. Got it? And now, if your intention is to update this repository or make this a repository, just give git init command. It just initializes this, right? So it does needs to master branch. And now, if I want to add a remote, git remote -v, there is nothing. So I can use git remote add, and I can even add the remote repository. Or if I say git status, there is nothing committed now. So what I can do, I can simply say git add and then git commit -m CM1. Like this, I can able to make some commits. And then if I want, I can able to publish to contain a remote repository like git remote add origin followed by the URL. Any URL you can take, for example. Like in our previous case, we use our test repo one URL, right? Remember these things, right? Like this, create one empty repository in your remote environment and use that URL and add it as an origin here. Got it? Easy. So what I did, you can see here, what are all the changes I made in my local machine. This project, I just created as a local repository, and using that remote URL, I can able to push it to my remote environment. So now if I go to that remote repository, see, it has created one new branch altogether, master branch. Main is there, that it be default one. But in addition to that, through my local repository, I just created a new branch called master branch. Like that, you can able to create any feature branches and attach it to your remote environment and merge it to the remote environment. It is possible at any point of time. Clear? So this is the way we work with any new project if it comes. Now consider in this environment, I already have one repository like test report 2 with this master branch. How I can work on this repository from my Visual Studio Code? That is agenda. So further, what I can do, I can show you from the scratch. Let's create a new project. Go to your file menu, click on new folder, open folder. Hope you all listening, right? Understandable, right, to everyone?
Yes.
Yes.
So let me create a new folder. I just want to work on report 2. So I can open that folder. Closing this. So at this point, this folder is completely empty. Okay. And if I go to my terminal also, I can able to access the bash terminal. That doesn't matter. But I'm not interested to create any new file here in this folder. I just want to keep it as a folder as it is, because I want to bring my remote repository to my local machine. So here at the left side, you can see something called source control in the context menu. Can you see this option? If you click on this option, you can able to see there are a lot of scenarios to handle your remote repositories. Got it? So you can able to use the same option to clone a repository, or you can able to publish to GitHub account or repository or initialize the repository. So here you can see there is only one folder available. If you want, you can able to initialize this. See, it is initialized. And at any point of time, you can able to enter the commit message and you can able to publish a branch. Like you can able to update like M1. See, there is no changes at this point of time. So whenever you create any changes in the repository, because it is just an empty folder, as I said, the commit can happen only to the changes at the file level, right? So you can able to create any number of files and update it there. So either you can use your git bash terminal to initialize the repository, or in this folder, if you create a new file, save it. I just save the file, and now you can see as soon as I save the file, you can see the source control is having one change. Just give a message and commit it. See, this is the GUI based approach to work on your repository. So while working on any IDE, whether you're working in your PyCharm or Visual Studio Code or Visual Studio or Eclipse, you can directly access the terminal where you can run your git CLI commands, or you can go to the source control option and you can able to handle the changes. Like if you want to make any commits, or if you want to add anything to staging area, or push it to the remote repository, like publish branch means this will be published to remote repository now. Like that you can handle it. This is about working all together from the scratch for a new project in the local machine. Like this, there is a scenario where we can able to perform the clone action also. All right. So let me use this repository itself directly now. Let me go to the Visual Studio Code and let's create a new project here. Right.
Loksai, do you have multiple screens?
Come again?
Are you using multiple screens?
Yeah, I've created 2 projects for now, right? We have
No, no,
created
no.
2
I'm
projects.
talking about the physical monitors.
What do you mean by the multiple screens?
Means multiple monitors, I mean to say,
No,
external
nothing like
screens.
that. Nothing like
Okay,
that.
because sometimes your screen is not visible to me. I
Yes,
don't know what.
sometimes it is not visible when you're pasting or doing something, it is not
Yeah,
visible at all.
Is that visible now, or like I'm on Visual Studio Code now?
No, it is
yeah.
now visible, but
Generally it is
when you
visible, but sometimes when you copy
Uh-huh.
something and paste something
yes,
somewhere,
yes.
I can't see where you're
Maybe,
pasting it.
maybe. Yeah, that's not an issue. So anyways, you're getting the context, right? What we're doing and all.
Yeah,
You're
could you
able to
please?
understand, right? Yeah, so what
Can
I'm
you
going to
just
do here
copy?
is I just opened a new window on Visual Studio Code. Okay. And this is just a new screen. I haven't created any project folder, something like that. All that I want to do is I want to bring my remote repository to my local machine. So in this file system, there is nothing, but you can see there's an option called open a folder or clone a repository. If you go to the source control also, you can see open folder or clone repository. If you give open folder, it will allow you to open the local Git repository folder, which you just created, like sample repo 1 or test repo 1 and all. But if you click on the clone repository, it will ask for the repository URL. Correct? If just click on clone repository, it will ask for the repository URL. Can you see this box? Hope it's visible, right? It's a small, tiny box actually.
Yes,
Yes,
yes.
Yes.
So it is expecting you to provide repository URL or pick up repository source. So what you can do, you can simply paste that URL, whatever you have created in your remote environment. Got it? And click on this clone. And when you're trying to clone the repository, it will expect you to share the target location where you want to clone this. What is your local, because the clone command will be executed from the local folder, right? So in which directory you want to maintain your remote repository? Just create one new folder like my test report 2. Something like this, and select the repository destination. Now it is cloning it now. Can you see this? Would you like to open the clone repository? Yes, open it. Now you can see the entire repository, whatever you have created in a remote environment, is available now. In my remote, I have a test repo 2 with a master branch and file f1.txt. It is available now. Easy. And the source control, it is up to date with my remote. So these are the context options. So if you click on the source control, here you can able to see some context menu where you can able to pull the changes or push the changes. I'm talking about the GUI based access. If you want to work on the CLI commands, you can open up a terminal and you can work on it. That doesn't matter. Correct. But Visual Studio Code also provides a GUI based operations on your repositories. See, as soon as I open Git Bash terminal, it is pointing to my parent folder with the master branch. So now what I can do, I can able to create a new file in the same branch or same folder like f2 local f2.txt file. Got it? And I can able to make some necessary changes. See, while I'm making some changes, here this symbol, it is pointing to something is highlighted, right? So what it means, there is one new changes happen in the repository or in this folder. You can see it is change considers U. So what it means here, there is something we are creating and it is created in the working directory. It is considered as an untracked file. So if you have untracked file, what you should do? You should add it to the staging area and then commit it, right? Guys, that's what happened. No.
Yeah.
I have created a folder. I mean, I've cloned the repository, and within that cloned repository, I've created a new file and made some necessary changes. And as soon as I create the file, it is considering that file as an untracked file. You can see this term here. Can you see this? If I keep the cursor, can you see the highlighting context there?
Yes.
Yes.
It is an untracked file now. And the file name also, it is suffixed with U. You can see this U symbol here. Now, if I want to add and commit the changes to my local repository, I can click on the source control. Or in this bash terminal, I can use git add and commit. That is also possible. But instead of that, click on the source control. And here it is expecting you to make some commit here. So just give a message like created local F1. Oh, sorry, what is it? F2.text. And here there is an option to commit. If you click on commit, it just commits the changes only within your local repository. It just adds and commit, that doesn't matter. Automatically that add command is integrated as part of the commit command now. Or you can able to use git push command. Commit and push. When I say git commit and push, it just commits the changes in your local repository as well as it pushes the changes to the remote repository. It is completed. Got it? Now, if you navigate to your remote repository, you should be able to see the change. Local f2.txt file has been created here just now. So this is done through the GUI-based interface through Visual Studio Code. You see, like this, consider in my remote repository, I make some changes. Let me create a new file directly here. Okay, and committing the changes directly on my remote repository for the sake of demo. This file is completely new. Now, if I go to the repository in my Visual Studio Code, it will not have any clue about it, right? So what I can do, I can refresh. It just refreshes the local repository. And here on this context menu, I can use a git pull command. If I use git pull command, it will just pull the changes from the remote repository. And you can see that new remote file 1.txt has been downloaded to my local, updated here. You see? So it is a very quickest way to interact with your remote repositories through Visual Studio Code kind of IDEs. Easy. But as a developer, they'll be getting a lot of options. Like I have something called Eclipse. Instead of Visual Studio Code, if you're working on enterprise version of your Java or a web development IDEs, there you can find many other options and it will be very intuitive also. You don't need to do any manual activities. As soon as you add or change, you will get an instant pop-up message. And from the scratch, you can able to configure each and every parameters in detail. It can be your global configurations or email ID of the user, author, everything can be customized there. All right. So as a DevOps resource, you should know how to work with your remote repository through Git Bash. That is a primary activity because most of the time we never use this ID for committing changes. We always write some scripts to automate the process. So to do such process automation, you have to be very clear about the CLI commands. Tomorrow, through your Jenkins pipeline, through Groovy scripts, you should able to publish the changes to remote repository or clone the changes from the remote repository. So for all such activities, definitely you need to be very clear about your CLI commands first. And on top of it, you should understand how the developers or how we can use Visual Studio Code to interact with the remote repository. Is that clear? Guys?
Yes.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's it. That's all about your Git module as per your course curriculum. And in tomorrow's session, we'll be talking about your application build tool. That is Maven. And then we'll start with Jenkins. Easy? This is the
Yes.
plan for next session.
Yeah. Looks like I just want to ask something generally. Like in this Git module, I would say the maximum part was from the Linux. If I talk about the CLI command line interface, we use Linux mostly, right? Although it has its own commands, but yeah, it's based on Linux. So if I talk about the other tools, which you are saying like Maven, Jenkins, Ansible, Kubernetes, is there any tool in which we will be using Python instead of these command lines or Linux?
See, first of all, can you please repeat your question? Like, I'm not getting you on what context you're saying, like it is Linux.
No, no. On
What is
what
your
context?
understanding about Linux actually? Like,
Why
why
I'm
you're
saying
no, why
uh
you're comparing Linux with Python? That's my point here.
no, no. Yeah, I agree that that is an operating system and the Python is language. You are
Huh.
absolutely right at that path. But still, I am asking like, uh, when we started working on this Git Bash, we started with clear command, which was there in Linux as well, and other commands which were there in Linux as well. But my question is, will we be using same Linux concept on the other tools as well or not? Is there
Yes,
something
in
more?
all our upcoming modules, whether you're going to work on Jenkins or Docker, Kubernetes, we are going to use the Linux machine,
Less.
Ubuntu machine, right?
Hmm.
So when you use Ubuntu machine to install Jenkins, obviously you need to run some Linux commands there,
Okay.
correct?
Correct.
That is the context.
Yeah.
And if you are developing any Java-based applications, you'll be using Maven commands there. If you are developing any Python-based application, you'll be using a Python commands there actually. So it depends upon the application that you're going to work on.
Correct. This is what I
Correct.
was trying to ask. Yeah.
Correct. Even in Windows machine, let's say I have a PowerShell right here. This is a PowerShell terminal, right? Can you see this?
Yes.
So in this PowerShell terminal, I can able to run only my Windows PowerShell commands, not the bash commands, Linux commands. If you're comfortable using your Windows PowerShell command, like in a command prompt, whatever you type, you execute, right? Here you'll be executing your PowerShell scripts, not your bash scripts, Linux bash scripts. So that makes a difference. So all the Windows users will be using PowerShell scripts. Linux users will be using the bash scripts or shell scripts, we can say.
Got it. I was confused between this. That is the reason I asked.
All right. So any other questions from anyone? If you have any question, please let me know right away.
So when we
Or
are
if you need some time to practice also, you can practice and ask me. That doesn't matter. Yeah, tell me, what is it?
continuing on same note what Sachin was asking, when we are using AWS and Azure, obviously on AWS we have Linux EC2. So what about Azure? Do we have Linux support for that
Yes.
to use Linux commands on Azure?
Yes.
Okay.
See, I would like to clarify something, okay? In order to work on any software, we need a computing environment, right?
Right. Yeah.
The computing environment, the machine. If you see this laptop, it is one computing device. In this computing device, I've installed Windows OS, and using this Windows OS, I can able to run some PowerShell scripts promptly. I cannot run any Linux scripts here. I
True.
use Git bash to run some. When I install Git, it comes with the utility called Git bash. Because of that utility, I can able to run some Linux based commands. That's all. It doesn't mean that I can able to completely consider this as a Linux based working environment, right?
Right.
So
Yeah.
the computing device, it can be based upon a Windows machine or Linux machine, or it can be a Mac, or it can be your Android or whatever, correct? So if you want to use the same computing devices from your cloud service provider, whether it is AWS or Azure or Google Cloud Platform, these guys also will be providing different types of computing environments like Windows
Right.
environment, Linux environment, Mac, right? And this Linux itself will be having a number of distributions like RHEL, CentOS, Ubuntu kind of thing. Same thing is applicable to all these services.
Okay.
Now, consider a scenario. I am a Java developer or a Python developer. I need a development environment, and this Java or Python applications can be developed in Linux environment as well as in Windows environment, right? Or in Mac environment also. It's possible, no?
Yes.
I can run my Java applications or Python application development process in any of these platforms, correct? So there's no restrictions there. Even I can create a Windows machine and I can run Java or Python there. Or I can run my Linux machine and run the Python or Java there. That doesn't matter. You see, even in Linux environment, we can run our Python or develop Python applications. It is possible, correct? Now consider I want to develop a .NET based application. .NET means it is purely from Microsoft, correct? So to develop such .NET application, I cannot rely on the Linux OS. I have to rely on my Windows OS only, correct? So in such situations, I never create a Linux box in my cloud platform. I create a Windows machine, and in that Windows machine, I install all the .NET related application utilities and creating that application. So the point here is the computing device needs the OS. On top of the OS, you can able to run any type of application. That's what it means. Right.
Yeah. Understood. Thanks.
You understood, but I'm still puzzled why the comparison comes between Linux and Python. If you're comparing Linux with Python means, I think there is some gap in understanding. That's what I can figure out. But if you're saying you understood it properly, then it's fine.
No, my question
No,
was regarding this thing, Azure.
Yeah, not you. I think
Yeah.
someone, right? I missed the name.
yeah, it was me, Sachin.
Uh,
I
uh,
agree that I know that operating system is a different thing and language is a different thing. I'm just asking about the commands. That's what I was asking. That you used in Git, you use a bit of Linux. That is the reason I was asking. That is there something in which
okay,
you were
okay,
using
okay.
Python as a language or not? This could be silly. I'm really sorry for this,
No,
but
no, it is not. See, there is no questions
you
called silly question. Okay, every question has its own value. That is not the problem here. But I could not figure out like how the question arises. That's what the point. I saw for my clarity actually. Okay,
okay?
because if you're comparing our Windows with Linux means okay, it's meaningful. If you're comparing Java with Python means it is meaningful. But What
Yeah.
makes you to compare the Python with Linux?
Linux.
I just
Yeah.
wanted to get the detail. That's nothing else.
Yeah. My question might
Fine.
not be clear to you, but your answer is clear to me.
Okay, then it's fine. All right.
Thank you.
So yeah. So if you're clear with this, then we'll connect tomorrow. Tomorrow, I think you have your mentoring session, right? Is that so? It's scheduled.
We
No,
haven't
we
received
haven't
any
got any
notification so far.
notification regarding it.
But for every Wednesday, you have a session, no?
Not sure
Last
because
Not sure.
that
last
was
week it was our first.
first session. Yeah.
Okay, I was told like tomorrow you must be having. Maybe you check your
No,
calendar.
when I inquired with Shafaq, he told every Wednesday we will be having mentorship session.
Yeah, that means it will be scheduled. Okay, so don't worry on that. So, anyways, in next session we'll talk about your fundamentals of application build tools like Maven, and then start with Jenkins module.
Sure.
Got it?
Sure.
I'll be updating these documents in your repository now, and in the meantime, please respond to
Cool.
this poll as well.
Mhm.
So, hope the Git module is progressive, right? To all understood the things.
Yeah.
Yes.
Mm. So I'll be sharing these commands as well.
I have just submitted the poll. Looks like I need to drop off from the
Yeah,
call.
please,
I
please, please. No
join my
problem.
office.
Thank you. Thanks for that. Thank you.
Thank
Bye.
you. Bye-bye.
Thank you.
Yeah, sure. Thank you, Ma. All right, guys. Thank you all. We'll connect tomorrow if you don't have any other question. Chala. Rahul or Shivam Tripathi, any question? You are still on call, waiting for something?
And no, actually. Thank you.
All right, then. Thank you.